The Arizona Corporation Commission Senior Security Seminar now continues.
Welcome to Part 3 and the final of our Arizona Senior Security Seminar Series. In Part 1 and 2, we heard from the Arizona Corporation Commission and the Department of Insurance with some valuable tips and information to protect seniors from fraud. The final piece of our collaborative effort includes the Arizona Adult Protective Services.
Adult Protective Services investigates cases of abuse, neglect, and exploitation of vulnerable adults. The agency takes reports through its hotline at 877-SOS-ADULT or 1-877-767-2385. The hotline is available Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. You can also make a report online at www.azdes.gov/report-adult-abuse. While it is helpful for investigators to follow up with the person reporting, should they need more information, you can remain anonymous when you make a report. If there is an emergency situation during or outside of those hours, you are urged to call 911. Reports to Adult Protective Services frequently come from those mandated to report abuse or neglect to authorities, such as physicians or VA representatives, banks, or other financial institutions. Once the report is received, the agency does an investigation to determine what, if any, services are necessary. Adult Protective Services investigators go into private homes, nursing homes, hospitals, or meet people where they are living if that is where they are being neglected. Investigators evaluate the need for protective services to offer appropriate services based on their need and availability and acceptance. Sometimes investigators file for guardianships via the Public Fiduciary's Office. Investigators can request medical records, financial reports, and other documents, and they do maintain a registry of cases that are substantiated. There are some limitations to what Adult Protective Services can do. Adult Protective Services does not take custody of an adult, remove an adult from their living environment against their will, force the person to accept services, make financial decisions on behalf of the adult or request their accounts be frozen, serve as a guardian or conservator, interfere with the adult's lifestyle. The agency investigator actively engages the adult's family, significant other and loved ones, and the community to meet that adult's needs. Community partners include, but are not limited to, law enforcement and the Area Agency on Aging. Investigators work with the local and regional behavioral health entities, Veterans Administration, Developmental Disabilities, and Arizona long-term care operators. What is a vulnerable adult? A vulnerable adult is defined by law as anyone who is 18 years of age or older who is unable to protect him or herself against abuse, neglect, or exploitation because of physical or mental impairment. An incapacitated person is defined as an individual who is impaired by reason of mental illness, mental deficiency, mental disorder, physical illness, or disability including chronic use of drugs, chronic intoxication, or any cause to the extent that he or she lacks sufficient understanding or capacity to make or communicate responsible decisions concerning himself or herself. Financial exploitation is the illegal or improper use of a vulnerable adult's resources for another's profit or advantage. Some potential signs include misuse of power of attorney, misuse of financial resources or assets for personal gain or fraudulent scams. Misuse could be using the power of attorney, going to the bank, trying to change or add their name to the account. Many times this would be done by a family member or loved one. Arizona's Adult Protective Services is one of only 8 in the nation that a special unit is dedicated to investigating financial exploitation. They assist law enforcement and the Attorney General's office. The goal of that unit is to increase prosecutions of people who take advantage of vulnerable adults and put the perpetrators on the registry to red flag unscrupulous caregivers. Examples of financial exploitation include fraud, where someone entrusted may falsify records and conduct unauthorized withdrawals from an account and other financial schemes. Theft, taking cash or property from the vulnerable adult without knowledge or consent, and real estate, which would include unauthorized sales or transfers and changes to estate documents. Some of the scams that are being used are telemarketing, lottery, pyramid scams, or emergency scams, where the victim is called and is told that a loved one is in jail and needs bail money. Door-to-door home repair scams are also popular. When an investigation is conducted, investigators have a time frame service priority of 1, 2, and 3. A priority 1 response is in 1 day. A priority 2 is in 2 days. And a priority 3 response is within 5 working days. A priority 1 would be a life-threatening situation. Somebody doesn't have their medications, or maybe someone was released from the hospital and they didn't get their medications or oxygen. An investigator would be knocking on that door immediately, often going with law enforcement to get into the home. A priority 2 would be a self-neglect case. Maybe someone isn't taking care of themselves. In Arizona, there are a lot of transplants and retirees, people who come from other states and their children haven't seen them or even heard from them for a while. Maybe someone passes away and the surviving spouse never drove or balanced a checkbook or prepared a meal. Sometimes Adult Protective Services has someone go to the residence and just offer assistance, help them open their mail, or prioritize their bills, etc. Investigators do a lot of setup of auto pay for bills, set up safety networks, and contact the family when possible. An investigation includes gathering evidence, doing an assessment, and completing a case plan and a risk assessment for the elderly person. These folks do have the right to refuse services. They don't have to let investigators in. But the agency has gifted investigators who may rely on the pets to help them, since the pets are like family and their connection to life. Investigators work with humane societies because sometimes they can't get a person to go to a facility without their dog or cat. So the Humane Society will take care of their animal. Sometimes that is the only thing keeping them from the medical treatment or other service that they need. Adult Protective Services also relies on other resources like the Social Security Administration and the Veterans Services, depending on where the funds may be compromised. The Social Security Administration has a fraud hotline, 1-800-269-0271, and you can report fraud or concerns about veterans benefits at 1-800-827-1000. If you suspect a guardian or conservator has misused funds, you should contact the county probate court. Again, Adult Protection Services does not become a guardian or conservator for an elderly person. The agency does not have the authority to manage someone's funds. That is referred out to public fiduciaries. Area Agency on Aging has a case management program, and referrals are made to them as well. Area Agency on Aging's core non-medical in-home services include case management, home-delivered meals, attendant care, respite care, housekeeping, disease prevention, family caregiver support, referrals for insurance, legal, medical, and long-term in-home or facility care programs. The person must be qualified for the care. Incomes based on income and medical criteria. Perhaps the biggest misconception is that the agency removes people from their homes. The agency does not have the authority to do that. The agency works closely with hospice services. Arizona Adult Protective Services works to provide the least intrusive services for the clients and try to serve them in their homes so they don't have to be separated from their loved ones.
That was great, and I want to thank you, the audience. It is a lot of important information. I want to take a moment to thank Governor Doug Ducey, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona, the Arizona Home Health Nursing Association, and Northern Arizona University for a unique collaboration to make this Senior Security Series possible. Be sure to check out Part 1 and Part 2 of the series if you haven't already. I'm Commissioner Andy Tobin. Thanks and be safe.